told me I had a cyst the size of a lemon and that it would probably need to be cut out with surgery. And they gave me 3 months before I had to go back and be checked. I realized that I had 3 months of hope, 3 months of possibility, 3 months of grace. 3 months to find out what healing really meant. Because at this stage in my life, I called myself a healer. I was a Reiki healer. I put my hands on people. I did healing. I had never really had anything physical that needed to be healed before this moment. So, what was I going to do with my 3 months? I had just trained in something called the Taoist sexual arts. So I had a bunch of practices where I would put attention in my genitals and breathe. It had been all very sweet in a class, and I had this set of tools. I was also lucky that I read a book that was called The Mystery of the Dark Moon Goddess. And I had a partner who said to me, "You're all very nice, you're very smiley, you're very full of light, but I think you don't know your dark side." So I read this book and I realized, I don't know my dark side. I have made myself love and light and smiles and rainbows. So I decided, especially as it was Halloween, moving into the winter solstice, and I discovered that was the dark moon time of the year, I thought, that's it, I'm going to go alone into the jungle and do a retreat and do these Taoist practices and do whatever I can to heal and see what that means. So my healing journey consisted of finding a little platform with a straw roof with no walls, a small hole in the ground as a toilet and one water tap, and a loving partner who delivered food and took care of me. But a lot of time alone in a thick jungle in Thailand. And here's what I discovered. I slept in a hammock, and what I discovered sleeping in my little hammock was that I was fucking terrified. That I had so much fear, that I had never in my life met fear properly. That I had spent my whole life conveniently avoiding fear, and successfully too. I was very good at it. And when I was lying there alone in the jungle with my hands on my ovaries and breathing, I discovered what I was really afraid of. I was afraid of the wild, feminine. I was afraid of the jungle. I was afraid of the sounds that came at night. I was afraid of the snake that I watched one night. I could see it through the slats, and I just saw this thick body going on and on and on. I never saw the whole thing, but I watched it for a while and computed in my head that was a big snake. I was terrified, and yet I gave myself space to feel it and breathe it. I noticed something else. Not only was I afraid of this big, black, scary and exciting jungle out there, but I had it in here. It was the same energy. It was the same wild feminine sitting in my hips. And as I was breathing, this intensity was in there that I had been terrified of my whole goddamn life. It was my own sexual energy. And it was totally, utterly connected and the same as what I was seeing outside of me. So my 3 months was actually a journey into making space for that terrifying fear that I stopped calling fear and I started calling it life. I started breathing it in, and I discovered that if I wasn't contracting and pushing it away and trying to avoid it, that it actually came up into my body, and it made my body shake and tremble, and it made my breasts come alive and my heart crack open and my head go into altered states. It made my whole spine come alive like that snake that I'd seen. It made my whole body tremble with something that was so exhilarating and amazing and alive and orgasmic. And this was fear. This was what I had been running from my whole life. This is what I'd been repressing. This is what my culture told me was terrifying and dangerous and I should never go there. This was life like I had never lived it before. So 6 weeks into my journey, letting it all through me, making space for what I most feared, coming alive again. One day I realized I had just disowned the wild feminine from my life, and I made a pledge to invite her back in. The next morning I bent my knees, I had excruciating pain, I had blood coming out, but it wasn't my period. And I knew my cyst was gone. It did not need to be there anymore. I had healed myself. I nearly didn't go and get it checked because I knew, but my husband, my partner, scooted me off to the hospital when I came out of the jungle. They couldn't understand where I had gone. I could never explain to them. But my call to action to you, I know you are all people who meet fear in your life, but I just want to invite you not only to not be afraid of fear, but to take it as your lover and make love in it.